Hey everyone, welcome back to the Library of Parthos. My name is Sarah and oh, it is almost fall. I don't know about you, but I love fall. I'm so excited for everything. Pumpkin and apple and oh, all the leaves. I just can't, like all the shows that we watch, like Over the Garden Wall and Halloween Town, just the first two because the third one doesn't count, like all of that stuff. I'm just so excited. So in some ways I feel like summer is kind of like a pre-fall. Don't get me wrong, I love summer. I love like grilling and sitting outside and going for walks and hikes and all of that good stuff, but fall is my favorite. So anyway, starting to get into fall, getting into spooky season, starting to get into some of those spooky books. I had a series sitting on my bookshelf forever, and I figured those have been there long enough and I paid a lot of money for them, so I should probably read them. And that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. So here's what happened with these books. They were huge. I mean, they might still be really popular. I'm not really sure. Don't do BookTok, but you know, it's pretty easy to tell which ones are popular on BookTok. Anyway, super popular on BookTok. I read like snippets of it and I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally into this. This is great. And then this beautiful set was released. And honestly, it was probably like 2 years ago, so I really don't even remember where I got it from. It might have been Fairy Loot. I really don't even remember where these came from. But anyway, they were released. I wanted them, so I got them. They were expensive. Hadn't read them before. So let this be a lesson to you, friends, that you shouldn't buy fancy versions of books that you haven't read because you might not like it all that much. And as I said, I had read snippets of this book, but when I actually read the whole thing, I didn't really like it all that much. Now, I paid, again, I'm gonna stress this, I paid a lot of money for these really nice versions. I mean, look at all this stuff. Like, this is beautiful. It's gorgeous. Paid a lot of money for these. Start a tally of how many times I say that. So I'm gonna read them because of that reason and that reason only. I would probably honestly be fine if I didn't finish the series after reading book one, but I'm going to because I made that investment. Let's go ahead and get into a spoiler-free summary, and then I'll get into some of the reasons why I didn't particularly enjoy this book and some spoilers as well. So Poppy, Penellaphe, is the maiden, the chosen one of the gods. She lives in the kingdom of Solis, and it's a lot of world building, and then she's basically taken out of the kingdom of Solis by the evil Atlanteans, and her whole world is turned upside down. I feel like that's all I can say spoiler free. Like, it's a lot of spoilers. So I'll go ahead and get into some of my thoughts on the book and some of the spoilers that come along with the plot of the story. From Blood and Ash is the story of Penellaphe, fondly known as Poppy or the Maiden. She is the chosen one from the gods who is to ascend and become like essentially immortal, and she's the favorite of the queens. She has to wear a veil. She's like closed off from like everybody else. She's not allowed to like really talk to people or like engage in society, all of that stuff. She's also very heavily scarred because her family was attacked by these creatures called the Craven when she was a kid, and her parents were killed from that attack. She and her brother were then taken in by the queen and a duke and duchess, and she's the chosen one. So she lives in the kingdom of Solis. Solis is led by the Ascended, who are these immortal creatures with black eyes who tend not to go out in the sun because that's when the gods sleep. So they go out at night when the gods are awake. So she is living her life, getting ready for this ascension. She's a little bit of a baddie for what the maiden is supposed to be. She like goes out to like nightclubs essentially, like, you know, and trains, knows how to use a sword and a dagger and a bow. And when the Craven are attacking the Rise, which is like the big wall around the city that she lives in, she goes out on the balcony and like shoots them. And if people are starting to turn into Craven, she goes and ends their suffering, that sort of thing. So the first part of the book, I would say, is just like a lot of world building. Like we learn about the Ascended, we learn about Poppy's life, how she's like not allowed to do anything, but how she still goes out and does stuff anyway. She's mistreated by the Duke. Like he like abuses her and stuff. And the closer it gets to her ascension, the less and less that she's interested in that. Like she's just really she's not happy with her life because it's been so like sheltered. She really doesn't want to live an even more sheltered life. So she's just like not really feeling it. Enter Hawke Flynn, her new guard, who's replaced another guard that was killed. And she's very interested in this man because he is gorgeous. And he becomes one of her like close guards and helps her live out some of her wildest fantasies. Yeah, okay, so let me stop there and just kind of say a couple of things about the first part of the book. I think it was more just like the writing style that I just wasn't a huge fan of. People were long-winded and I felt like things were over-explained. So like this is a sizable book and I feel like we could have cut it down if everything was a little more concise. And like there were just some like phrasing things that I wasn't a fan of. Like, for example, I said the Duke like abuses Poppy. Like she does something he doesn't like, so he calls her in for a lesson, and everyone refers to them as the Duke's lessons, but everybody knows that she's getting whipped with a cane. Like, it's just, I don't know, it just kind of got on my nerves. Like even Hawke, her guard, who's like romantically interested in her, was like, I'll find out about these lessons. Like, I don't know, just, it was a little over the top for me. Things go wrong at Castle Tierman, where Poppy is. Her closest guard that's been like a father to her, Victor, dies in this giant uprising against the Ascended. The Duke gets like stabbed through the heart with the cane he used to abuse her, so like good. But it's just not safe for her anymore to be there. And like I said, Hawke makes all of her wildest fantasies come true because, you know, she wants to make choices for herself because she hasn't been allowed to up to this point. Poppy and a gang of guards and hunters whose job is to like hunt the creatures that are outside of the walled city are escorting her to the capital. She and Hawke are getting like closer and closer as the story progresses, and then they're like camping in the forest for the night, and he's like, I'll help you relax. Just so like pushy and unnecessary. That like, not for me. And then like they stop for the night in like an inn, and Poppy's like, Hawke, will you stay with me? And he says like, if I stay with you, you won't be the Maiden anymore. And like, it could have stopped there, but again, like long-winded. He goes through this long explanation of like why that's not a good idea, like why he can't be there, what's gonna happen. Like, I think we all get it. Like, we're smart readers, right? We can like figure out what's gonna happen. They get to this place and everyone seems super friendly and like knows all the guards, which is kind of suspicious. And surprise, surprise, Hawke's name isn't really Hawke. He is this evil prince who is like working to overthrow the Ascended, or so Poppy thought. So everything that she was taught is wrong. The Ascended are vampires, if you couldn't figure that out. They were, the first vampire is what they're called, I think, was an accident. So there's this other group of people, the Atlanteans, who have sharp teeth, drink blood, can go out during the day. They don't need blood exclusively to survive. They need it to like heal. And they only need the blood of other Atlanteans. And they're also woven. I don't think I need to explain that. So all her life, Poppy was taught that the Atlanteans were bad. They were kind of like, they're basically gone. Like, they were all killed off. The woven were all killed off. The Ascended are the good guys, and then she finds out she was incredibly wrong. So as I said, the first vampire was kind of an accident. The king had this mortal woman, the Atlantean king had this mortal woman that he loved. She was dying. He drained her of her blood and then gave her some of his. And since then, they've created this basically whole religion around the Ascended getting blood, essentially. So they allow some members of the families to ascend or become vampires. Others they keep for food. So I think it's like the third and fourth child, or like the second and third child, are sent to the temple where they're basically just food. And to be able to turn people into Ascended, that means that they must have an Atlantean chained up, which happens to be Hawke's brother. Hawke's name is Castiel Denir. He's the son of the king of Atlantia, so the prince, and his brother Malik is a captive in the kingdom of Solis, and he's the one that they are using to turn people into vampires. So the plan is to use Poppy to make a trade. He wants to trade Poppy for his brother because the queen loves Poppy. She's the queen's favorite. So he wants to make that trade. He was not expecting, however, really two things. One, to develop feelings for her, and number two, that she's half Atlantean. So she has Atlantean blood, which is probably why she was the chosen and the maiden. Like, they probably figured that out and wanted to use her to make other Ascended. So that means that the plan has to change. She tries to escape multiple times. She stabs Cass in the heart, which doesn't kill him. He's fine. And then at the end, he says like, okay, the new plan is we're gonna go to Atlantia because we have to be on Atlantean soil, and then we're gonna get married there. And that's where the book ends. The story wasn't bad. Like, I knew a lot of the reveals before they happened. Like I said, I'd read like small portions of the book before, so I wasn't surprised by anything. I thought it was a nice twist. I was just like, the characters just got on my nerves, especially Castiel. Like, he's like too overbearing and protective. He's like, I've had this plan for months to get close to you, to kidnap you, and then trade you, and I don't care what happens to you after that, but now I actually do care, so like, I'm gonna keep working on that plan, but like, are you okay? Like, it's just like so weird. Like, I don't know, like his attempts to like show that he cares were like weird. The dialogue wasn't great. Just not for me. Will that change in book 2 and 3? Potentially, because I have to read them now, but not my favorite book. So this was not a BookTok win for me, and I have certainly learned my lesson that if you see a pretty book, make sure it's a book you actually like before you buy the pretty version. So probably won't be making any pretty purchases anytime soon, other than like what comes in OutCrate and Illumicrate and stuff, but that's more than just the books. It's about everything in the box, so I'm fine with that. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on From Blood and Ash. I know it's a super popular book, so sorry if I offended anybody by not enjoying it as much as you did. But if you are a fan, I'd love to know what you really enjoyed about the book. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. And if you've read the other books in the series too, like, let me know your thoughts on those. That is it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.